Hey guys, thanks for joining me today and chatting a little bit about advantage thinking and what it means for us at the Transition to Work program. Before we start, if you guys can whip around and just introduce yourselves to everyone that's here listening to us today.
Thanks, Skye. My name's Beck. I'm from Transition to Work in Frankston and Rosebud.
I'm Paddy. I'm a social work student currently on placement here at the Brotherhood with the Transition to Work program, and I also work casually at their Education First Youth foyers in Broadmeadows.
Awesome. And I'm Skye, Youth Development Coach working out of the Frankston site. So I guess our purpose of today's chat is to kind of let everyone know a little bit about what advantage thinking is. It's like something that we all know and we kind of live and breathe as coaches, but it's not necessarily something that we tell young people about, I don't think. So we thought it'd be really cool to kind of have a chat about that today and really, you know, let people know what it means and what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Do either of you want to jump in and tell us all about it?
Yeah, well, what's really interesting as well is that, you know, obviously we use advantage thinking at the Brotherhood at Transition to Work, but that doesn't mean that all of the Transition to Works or other programs necessarily use it. There is like a select group of people or community of practices that use it, and I guess over time, like we find out, you know, different places that also use it. And Paddy, you know, is from the foyers, and the foyers also use advantage thinking too. And we were just chatting like a little bit before about yesterday's meeting and how you were sort of talking about the foyer and different practices that you guys are currently working on, and, you know, how similar the conversations that your team are having, that we were having in our meeting yesterday, without us ever really meeting or working together before. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's since I've started the placement, it's been really evident that like how both programs have implemented advantage thinking into their way of thinking throughout their whole program ideology. And I think it's great. I think advantage thinking, which is something I'd never had heard of until I started working at the foyers, and it makes so much sense as well to be implementing that way of thinking into a program, especially with young people, especially in the current environment we live in.
Yeah.
So like I bet people are listening and thinking, I still don't know like what advantage thinking is. So like let's like paint a picture. Like what is it? Like it's this word that we throw around and we're so comfortable with it. But you know, for me, advantage thinking is like a way of how I work with a young person. And there's like 7 kind of ways in which I always hold myself accountable, and I also hold the young person accountable too. Because if we don't all act and move forward in the young person's journey together, then it can kind of unravel a little bit. So using that, you know, focusing on what talents and awesome things that a young person brings to the table is kind of the key one for me. That's the one that kind of sticks in my head, that, you know, it's all about the young person and what amazing things that they want to do, and that no dream is too big, or, you know, if they tell me they want to be an astronaut, they can be an astronaut. Let's figure out a way to get there, because really a young person knows what they want better than what I know what they want. Do you know what I mean? I don't think as a coach it's my job to be like, hey, you should be doing carpentry, or you should be doing hairdressing, or, you know, like sometimes I don't even know what I need for myself. So what makes me an expert in somebody else's life? You know, I think young people, if they don't, sometimes they don't know, I guess they don't know what they want to do, but that's my job then to support them in exploring that, so that they can make that decision for themselves. I think that's the most important advantage thinking kind of concept for me. What about you? What do you think's the thing that you resonate most with in advantage thinking?
I find that I use advantage thinking as an anchor. So, you know, sometimes advantage thinking can be used in a way that just flows really freely, and like it works really well and everything goes along perfectly. But, you know, it also is so important when you do hit, you know, challenges and kind of roadblocks when you're working with a young person to, I guess, frame things differently. So just because, you know, something's sort of not worked out, or, you know, a young person's like struggling with a certain area, it can be used to, I guess, you know, put things in a different direction, or I guess give, you know, a young person some space to think about what it is that they want to do, as opposed to, you know, pushing things on young people, making, you know, suggestions that they might not necessarily be interested in doing, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I like it. I like with advantage thinking how when you start implementing it with a young person you're working with, they may be so used to hearing about the negative aspects and or like traits that aren't so you know, welcoming, but then reverting that back to the traits they do have that are, you know, awesome, and the strengths and abilities and things they already have, and they are being the experts in their own life.
Yeah.
And focusing on that and watching them. And it takes a while, but then when they get that sense that we are only focusing on their positives and their strengths and their abilities, it starts to give them confidence. It starts changing the way they think about their abilities too.
Yeah.
It's such a cool moment, isn't it? Like when you see that
yeah.
light bulb moment and a young person's like, oh, hang on a minute. Like, yeah, I am good at that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And also, like what Paddy just said, they, you know, they are the experts in their journey. So I guess handing that, or not handing that power over, but showing that that is their power, and sort of facilitating that journey. But I think as well, advantage thinking is letting go of our agendas and the outcome that we hope for the young person, and allowing the young person to, you know, find their own way. You know, and like I said, letting go of any sort of outcome, because when young people are doing the work and they're going in a good direction, where they thought they might go might end up being somewhere else. So, you know, just following, you know, advantage thinking and having faith in the process, and just knowing that if you put in the work, it'll end up going in a good direction.
And like, I think I've had some young people like who initially commence with our program and they're not quite ready for that, those steps yet. And they kind of, it can sometimes feel like they're like avoiding me or don't want to talk to me or whatever. But then actually, you know, when I just allow that, like you said, allow that space, allow for the young person to come back and engage on their terms, then we really seem to get better movement, because the young person is really 100% deciding that they're ready for that change. And look, sometimes that happens in a time that somebody's with us, but sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes we kind of get to the end of our time and we're not able to kind of help that process happen. But it's, you know, hopefully that young person will return one day.
Yeah. And it's letting go of the fear of us not being able to fix a situation. It's about, you know, us offering young people, you know, ideas and pathways, and, you know, supporting them. And if they're ready for it, they'll take it up. But it might, you know, young people develop so much in such a short period of time. You know, a couple of months down the track, they might come back. And I guess them having the consistency of us always being there, always being the same, no matter who they see, is really important. So I find that that works so much better than us chasing young people, you know, around everywhere, trying to get them engaged and pressuring them to be doing something. I think, when we do the work the way that we do it, they end up coming to us, and it just ends up being such an organic, awesome experience. And we're just there, you know, to facilitate the ride.
It's like creating the opportunity part. Yeah, like we just create the opportunities if we can, and just put them there for young people to take up when they're ready. So that's pretty.
Providing the platform for them to write their own script, really.
Yeah, really cool.
With us at Transition to Work, we've obviously got, you know, big caseloads with lots of young people. How does it work at the foyer? Because, you know, the foyer's got, how many young people stay at the foyer?
40. There's capacity for 40, which is normally how many there are. so 40 different young people. But it's a supported accommodation facility where they can stay for up to 2 years. So the program is obviously a lot different to the transition to work program. But
How do you guys implement advantage thinking at the foyer?
How do we do it?
Yeah.
I mean, it starts from the moment they enter the program, and it's the way the program's been designed, and it's even how the environment that we've created inside the foyer. That even comes down from posters to phone calls to text messages. It's all with a very positive outlook and very positive attitude. And we just sort of, again, we provide them the platform for them to make their own decisions in regards to education, which is what the priority is there, rather than employment. But employment is something we will work on, but being an education first youth foyer. We talk through it, like what they like to study, what their skills are, what their strengths are. And then if they feel like they're a bit unsure, we keep talking to them about those, traits they already have. And then a lot of the times the students will just spring to their mind. They're like, well, that's what I want to study. And like, you had it all, you knew the whole time, you just needed a bit of unpacking to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Big question. Do you think Corona or the COVID has changed the way in which advantage thinking is working currently?
Stops that face-to-face interaction, which in regards to sort of building some sort of relationship or rapport, it can be made a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
I guess that's one of the big things.
I've found it's really interesting. So a lot of the young people that maybe weren't as engaged in regard to having ideas about what their pathways are have really connected, with me personally in a different way. So it's become, the rapport has been built via us supporting them with there's no mutual obligations at the moment. And I mean, our program doesn't really have mutual obligations anyway, not like Job Active, but for them to know that we're here supporting them with no agenda, like there's no, you have to come to the office, you need to check in, you need to do that. They're like, why are you just calling me to see if I'm okay? And I found that some of the young people that were maybe, a little bit more difficult to engage with have really appreciated that. And they see us not just as, a provider that they have to do something for, but seeing us as youth workers, people that, genuinely care and are here to support them regardless of what's happening at the moment. So I found that, the ones that engaged really well before, a lot of them have been moving into like these different areas and are working. And I'm finding that the young people that I couldn't even get in touch with prior are reaching out and having conversations. And I feel pretty confident that when we do go back to being able to, meet face to face and have education opportunities and work opportunities, that these young people are really going to trust in us and move forward in a really positive way. So that's, although Corona has been really challenging, I've found it, the way that we're connecting with young people one-on-one has been really great. Yeah,
it's allowed for also young people, like giving themselves permission to not be okay as well. I think we always kind of try and like put the brave face on sometimes, and we don't really acknowledge where we're at that time. And Corona has just made us all have to do that. Like there's no, you can't really move away from that at this point. So it's really helped me as a coach to work with young people around actually, where are you? What sort of things are you finding challenging at this time? Because this is like a little pressure cooker, really. It's just really kind of shine some lights on some areas that I wanted to work on for myself as well. So, I think, it's kind of a weird thing to think maybe some really good stuff is going to come out of this. So it's been powerful for my engagement with young people as well. So awesome.
Yeah. And I think the no pressure of no mutual obligations. And like I said, we don't really pressure young people anyhow, but I think having those conversations, it's like, no, it's fine. Like you don't actually need to be doing anything at the moment, but it's a really good time to have a think about stuff. And I find that no pressure really helps people come forward, make make steps forward towards you. So it's just a really casual space where, you know, young people are starting to like look online at different opportunities and emailing and asking questions, whereas prior they kind of felt like we wanted something from them, even though that's not how we work. But people don't know the difference between transition to work, interactive and whatnot. So it's been a nice space to connect. And
I guess it opens up like a lot of channels of communication that some young people might find more comfortable, especially with using their phones, and that sort of video like conferencing rather than being face to face. It could be like it could have turned out a lot more comfortable for certain people. And I guess also being at home gives them a lot of time to reflect on things they want to achieve and maybe things they want to work towards in regards to work goals and education goals. And it's
like just even like, you know, once we are allowed to like go out and do what we want to do, like that's like everyone's gonna be like shooting out that door. Like I want every excuse to not be sitting at home. Like I want to be engaged in stuff. I want to be doing whatever I can, because it's just, this has been a time like no other, I think. So yeah, really crazy, and looking forward to what the next piece will bring.
And it shows how like adaptable people have been, which is really awesome to see.
Yeah. Well, everyone's like so resilient, like crazy, so crazy. Awesome. All right. Well, great chat, guys. Really enjoyed talking about advantage thinking with you. We'll be doing a little bit of a series on different things about the transition to work program and opportunities. We'll be interviewing lots of different people. So tune in again and have a listen to some of the convos, and hopefully you guys get something out of it.
Great.
Right. Thanks, guys.
see ya.
Bye.